This is Narendra Kumar from NRK Academy before you, and we are going to do 6th C of AP State Board 10th class syllabus, English syllabus. And today we have a nice lesson, a tale of 3 villages. So we have got 3 villages, and this lesson is going to tell you the story of 3 villages. And this is also an environmental based lesson. And the first village is Cocoa Village, Nigeria. Mr. Sunday Nana, that's the name. His wife and 4 small children live in Cocoa Village, Nigeria. The village is like any other African village, picturesque. Picturesque means very beautiful. Picture, E-S-Q-U-E, picturesque. Colorful and noisy. The Nana family's house too is the same as all the other houses in the village, with mud walls and a rusting corrugated iron roof. Corrugated iron roof. And with children and chickens sharing the compound. There is one difference, however. Outside Mr. Nana's front are 3 large empty drums, the bright red paint now flaking away, going away, but the skull and crossbones symbol clearly visible on each. And in a clearing 200 meters away from the village, next to a stream that the villagers get their drinking water from, is an enormous pyramid of identical drums reaching to the sky. So there are so many drums there. Some of them are badly corroded. Corrosion means it has become rusted. There's slimy contents of various colors, grey, dark green, bright orange, etc., leaking out, down onto the baked African earth and into the stream. So this is an environmental lesson. So they're talking about the degradation of the environment. Some have fallen down and rolled or been rolled by playful children into the bush. Some are smoking in the midday heat. Some are swelling as if their contents are bursting to get out. Some have already burst. They came on a Wednesday, said Sunday. That man has Sunday. His name is Sunday. They came on a Wednesday. Many big lorries. They took all day unloading them. No one told us what was in them. They gave the chief a brown paper bag. I saw him smiling as the lorries drove away. This was 5 years ago. Then 3 months ago, one of the brightest boys in the village, Thomas Agonio, started university in Lagos. He came home one weekend with a new chemistry book and spent all day looking at the drums and writing things down and talking to himself and shaking his head. We all thought he had gone mad. Then he called a meeting of the village and told us that the drums contained poisonous chemicals. He said that they had come from Italy, but I don't know where that is. Is it in Europe? Mr. Sunday Nana stopped frowning, a troubled look on his face. In the last 5 years, 13 people have died in this village. My own elder brother, one of them. They have been in pain, terrible pain. We have never seen deaths like that before. Lots of our children are sick. We have asked the government to take the drums away, but they do nothing. We have written to Italy, but they do nothing. The chief says we should move our houses to another place, but we have no money to buy land. We have no choice. We have to stay here. And they, pointing the mountain of death in the clearing, are our neighbors. All the people are dead. They're dead bodies. So that is a very sad story of first village in Nigeria. So there are stories going on in the world, of deaths. Now we come to India, the second story. This is a story of 3 villages. Ponimanthuri village, India. That's a second part of the lesson. I can remember the time she said wistfully. Wistfully means you long for something. You want something. Wistfully, you want something. Wistfully. W-I-S-T-F-U-L-L-Y. I can remember the time she said wistfully when all the fields around this village were green and the harvest good. Her outstretched arm described a complete circle as she stood in the morning sun. Then they built those monsters. Her voice spluttered in anger and she shook her fist at a collection of ominous looking black buildings on the horizon. Ominous means very dangerous looking. on the horizon, covered in a low-lying shroud of thick smoke. She was pointing to factories. They said that factories need leather to make shoes, handbags, and clothes. They said our menfolk would get jobs. They said we would all become rich. We stood silent, each thinking our own thoughts. Yes, they told you all that, but there is so much they didn't tell you. They didn't tell you that to change animal skins into leather, which they call tanning, uses as many as 250 different chemicals, including heavy metals such as cadmium, arsenic, and chromium. They didn't tell you that these chemicals are discharged into the environment from those chimney stacks and fall to earth for miles around, polluting the earth below. They didn't tell you that this would poison your fields so that nothing will grow. They didn't tell all that. They didn't tell us that the chemicals would be dumped in open fields and into our rivers. We had been thinking the same thoughts. They didn't tell us that our women would have to walk 10 kilometers every day. They didn't tell us that we would get ulcer and sores on our bodies. They didn't tell us. Her voice trailed off. There is so much they didn't tell you, I thought. We don't buy leather shoes or leather handbags or leather clothes, she said. We don't buy. The second story, very sad stories. Now we come to Vorobyov village, Ukraine, formerly USSR. It happened on April the 26th, 1986. I remember the date because it was my mother's birthday. We heard the explosion early in the morning. We didn't worry because there had been explosions before from Chernobyl, but this one was bigger. Everyone stopped what they were doing and listened. Then we ran out into the garden. We could see a cloud of white smoke coming from the nuclear reactor. Natasha Revenko wiped her hands nervously on her apron. Tears came to the corners of her eyes and slid slowly down her pinched, pale cheeks. It was Saturday, she went on, still wiping her hands on her apron. It was a lovely, warm day, and the children played outside all weekend. Even when the dust began to fall, they still played outside. They picked up handfuls of it and threw it at each other, laughing. It was Wednesday before the loudspeaker van came to the village telling us to keep our children indoors and not to touch the radioactive dust. They also told us to wash down our houses and roads with water. A week later, the children began to vomit. Their hair fell out. Just imagine, hair fell out. They couldn't eat. They grew so thin and sores appeared all over their little bodies. Sores appeared all over their little bodies. 2 weeks after that, all three died. All three on the same day. She broke down now and cried quietly, as she had done so many times before. She started crying. They're buried over there. She pointed to the church graveyard. Lots of village people are, and adults. They all died. I touched her gently on the shoulder, leaving her to her bittersweet memories, and walked on through the silence. It was a ghost town. No one lived there anymore. Everybody had left. They had either died or been forcibly evacuated. They were taken away. The fields were barren. Nothing grew. Nothing ever would again. Nothing will grow again. There was no bird song, no birds. No rabbit peered at me. No rabbit looked at me. No cow endlessly chewed. No horse neighed, N-E-I-G-H, the horse's sound. Neighed, N-E-I-G-H-E-D. Natasha caught me up as we boarded the bus marked Moscow. Thank you for coming with me, she said. I wanted to see the graves and the house again before I die. So she wanted to see the graves and remember these. So these are the three stories of environmental dangers. So we should be very clear. What is going to be dangerous? We should make a study of every place and make a scientific study of what happens when you use technology. You should use technology wisely and not cause harm to the environment. These three stories express that so beautifully, and that is the story today of three villages. I hope you were touched by the stories and inspired to be very careful and really make a proper scientific study before you do anything. Thank you so much. This is NRK Academy signing out. We will meet again with another lesson. Thank you so much.